Testing 1 2 3 testing 1 2 testing 1 2 1 2 3 4. Hey there, hi there, ho there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior reality check coming to you live over the internet through the system of boob tubes known as the YouTube, bringing you another broadcast day of my one and only late night, late afternoon, late. It's late. I don't know whenever I'm going to be putting it on. It's late anyway. Show Spleen Squeezes. Turning this down, and then I'm turning this over here up just enough for the meter to move. Broadcast. The excitement is absolutely palpable. Calculatable. Sort of squishy. The light tacky. Yeah, I'm gonna try this. You know how the DJs always rattle on like this? I'm gonna see how long I can keep it up. And that was pretty much it. I have no steam. No steam in my stress. And the live stream health is still crap. I do not know why. I only know I can only blame YouTube because there's nothing on this end that I can adjust any further. I mean, I literally have only as few programs possibly running on few systems running as possibly can, and everything is supposed to be pipelining through my OBS 23.10 64-bit Windows program. And still, the video output is low. Give me a freaking break. Okay, let's see. In the news, Stephen Crowder, Louder Than Crowder, is updating. He's got a live stream going on. Let's take a look. 5 foods you're combining wrong. I don't care. Okay, and the music in the background is provided by Monster Fluff. Their channel, Monster Fluff Music. It's their NCS 24/7 live stream, gaming music radio, no copyright sounds, dubstep, trap, EDM, electro house. I don't know nothing, man. I just don't know nothing. I just can't figure anything out. I am all afflicted. I don't know what you're doing, man. I don't know what you're planning on doing. I don't know what you're planning on trying. I just can't understand it. But here we are. Let's see here. What am I looking for? I don't know. Made a mistake. I've been doing this. I've been falling asleep in my chair in front of my desk a lot the past couple of weeks. Not doing anything. I'll be sitting here about the time I think I really need to get up and go to bed, and then I wake up. And by that time I'm already no sleeping left. No sleepiness left. Crap. Start another day. But it really doesn't help. I've got two friends who are rhapsodizing about how much weight they've lost, how healthy they are now, and each of them is following a radically different diet plan. One of them is going low carb, and he has lost a literal ton, a practical ton of weight. No, he wasn't that fat, he didn't lose a literal ton, but he lost he slimmed down hard. Low carb and exercise mostly, and a fanatical phobia about orange juice apparently. My other friend, she went vegan. She said, "Oh, I'm so much healthier now." Each of them following in many ways the exact opposite diet plan, and both of them bragging about how if everybody would just follow this plan. And this, my friends, is why I do not diet. One, because it's God's own guess as to what the correct system is for you. And two, because you become kind of insufferable. Your waistline has become the new morality in this country. I used to go on diet when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and 30s. I dieted. I tried going. I started going to the gym, did all that, and it would go. It's usual routine. I'd managed to go on diet for 2 or 3 months, and it was all I would talk about. It was all I would talk about. It was all I would think. It was all I would think about. Every daily thought was about what my next meal was going to be, and oh my gosh, how do I trim down the fat or trim down the calories? And I was sick of listening to myself. I really was. I was just absolutely sick of listening to myself. And then something would happen, and maintaining just going. Riding to the gym would suddenly become a little bit more difficult because my pay would dip or expenses would come up and I couldn't afford the bus fare anymore, or my schedule would change, or I'd be caught with no options for food except whatever the place I was working at had in the frozen food section. And it would and within a matter of days I would lose all the gain all the losses I had made. I remember being 273 pounds and lamenting constantly how fat I was. I would walk to work, I would bike to work, I would try everything. And I got tired of how it dominated my life. my life. I got so tired. I got tired. Getting music for the background is always so difficult. Okay, Anthrozo Warrior 3. Hey, how many of there are you? This is Anthrozo Warrior 3. So what happened to 1 through 2? What's on the agenda today? I'm just trying to get up to steam at the moment. Seeing what's big in the news, whining about people who go on diets. That's what I'm doing right now. I used to be one of them. You know, and I got older and older, and my metabolism got slower, and my health got worse and worse. Oh, mercy, mercy, mercy. But, actually, my hands and my wrists are hurting. I don't know what I did. It's gonna make doing anything kind of, ouch, touch and go. I hope I'm not getting arthritis, you know, figure, you know, I turned 30 and my legs started swelling up. Now I turned 48 this year, and now my hands and my joints, my hands and my wrists start hurting. Legs are out, my hands are going out. I'm turning into a potted plant. Itch. Nothing worse than not being able to easily reach your feet and having an itchy foot. There we go. Oh my, oh my, oh my, let's see. There's really not much to talk about at the moment. Nothing particularly spectacular happening. Let's see if I got I got the art program going. Okay, I'm gonna open up some files and get everything rolling. Just trying to get everything organized here. Talking last night about the rather racy recent short arc in Nip and Tuck, starring Nip and his wife Zelda. It's interesting how the topic of the strip branched out from sex to marriage to childbearing to birth control to other issues like these came out of left field. Self-mutilation. Apparently, some of the bits of the recent story freaked some people out, some sensitive types out. Some guy found it particularly disturbing how Zelda looked like she was enjoying having her, quote, having all her quills, quote, ripped out all at the same time. It gets to the point where you wonder if you're speaking the same language, speaking on communicating on the same dimensional plane with some people. Because it's made pretty explicit in the story that this is true. This is a real true fact. It's true of American porcupines. Porcupines native to the American continent are the ones that have this feature. They have two kinds of quills. They have the long, they have long, thin ones. Long, thin, wavy, bendy ones. They're more like, stiffish hairs than anything. And they also have the short, nasty, barbed ones. That are the ones they actually use for defense. And those ones come out at a touch. They come out very easily. They're designed to. Now you figure getting a bunch of those things pulled out has got to be sort of like getting an itch scratched. Like peeling an old Band-Aid off or something. And I made it explicit. Those were the quills she was getting pulled. And he's like, "Oh, eek," and I'm like, "Wait a minute! I just explained to you these things are loose. They come out, they fall out, and they grow back in. So this is why she's getting them dealt with." But it perturbed him. And then another commentator got a little discombobulated that Nip went ahead and got a vasectomy. That's self-mutilation. And I'm like, oh geez. Somebody dialed the Pope. Look, the Catholic Church has got some serious things mixed up about birth control. Once the real moral ethical stance is that once a life begins, it should be protected. But the Catholics are going from the by using birth control, you're thwarting the will of God. Because apparently you're supposed to, the proper way to relate with God is to throw your entire life and livelihood on a roll of the dice. Condoms don't kill babies, okay? Unclench. And neither does taking the birth control. I gotta wonder though a little bit about the birth control pill. They've had it for many years. They've had it for decades, and you gotta kind of wonder about the sensibility of chemically altering a woman's body like that so casually. No, I'm not saying it's, oh, they shouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is that there's a certain lack of caution. Once the medical community does have a tendency to, once it comes up with what appears to be a solution or a cure, they run out ahead of everything with it. They run amok with it. This is what happened with penicillin. When they discovered penicillin and started discovering other antibiotics, they handed them out like candy. And we're seeing the results now is that they're getting, people weren't taking them correctly, and what they were doing was, instead of curing the infections, they were winnowing out the weak ones and leaving the harsher and more dangerous infections to flourish in the wild. And they also started, they were handing it out like candy, and they never realized that some people would have negative reactions to it. And they do this with just about every medical treatment. They come up with, a really bad example is the lobotomy. The lobotomy was a drastic surgery of the brain, and calling it surgery is being generous beyond belief. It's horrifying when you read about how far they went with it, because they would go in, they would take, it seemed to work. It stopped all manner of psychotic acting out. The psychotic patient, they would deem the patient incurable, and they would give them a lobotomy, and they would become passive and docile, and pretty much everything they wanted out of somebody in a psych ward. But the results were horrific. Because and they started handing them out like candy, and it was horrifying. The so-called medical procedure consisted of bringing in a patient, sitting them down in a chair, hitting them with a local, and then drilling a hole in their head, sticking a probe in through the hole, and then just basically wiggling it around. Or they'd run it up through the sinuses, through the tear ducts, and up into the brain that way. Just horrifying stuff. And then they'd slap a couple of bandages on them and send them on their way and bring in the next one. Horrifying. But they thought that, they actually thought they were doing wonderful work. So you'll understand me when I say I can see where the anti-vaxxers are kind of coming from. They're not right, not by a long shot. But I can understand, because originally, you had a vaccine for 1 or 2 or 3 diseases. But now it seems like they're jabbing the kids full of 15 or 20 different inoculations before they're even old enough to walk. And their approach to everything, stick a needle in them. And you gotta kind of wonder, have they done any really in-depth research to what giving somebody dozens and dozens of inoculations, what that does to their immune system? Have they done any, have they a little, temperance, a little caution? Maybe a child living in, Kansas doesn't really need to be vaccinated for the Mongolian Bombata flu. It's just, could we think this over just a little bit? Before we go hog wild with it. Well, look what happened with Ritalin. Teachers were practically handing them out with a Pez dispenser at the beginning of every class. Open wide, kids. Okay, stand in the back room. I'm going to try and make a 3-point shot here. Oh, Timmy swallowed one. Yay! Here's one that they don't like to talk about. You know, most of the school shooters over the past 20 years or so, most of them, 20, 30 years, actually most over the past 30, 40 years, and longer, common trend. They were on psychoactive drugs. Not just Ritalin, but there's a laundry list of drugs that alter the brains in the same way that heroin does. Prozac, Ritalin, you name it. The Columbine shooters. It got out that one of the shooters was, on a cocktail of things like Zoloft and a couple other things. And that he was, this is an interesting thing that most people don't know, is when you go off those medicines, there's a sort of a rebound effect where your symptoms become worse for a stretch after you go off the medicine. Like if you're having side effects from the medicine you're taking, like megalomania, that's a listed side effect of many of these drugs. Megalomania, suicidal thoughts, when you go off them, those side effects actually get worse for a stretch. And I forget whether it was Dylan or Klebold that the Columbine shooters, that he had decided to go cold turkey on his parental happy pills because he had been rejected by the, he had been told by a recruiting officer for the military that as long as he was on the, they could never recruit somebody who was on this stuff. And of course, the instant the word got out, the word leaked out to the press, and then he slammed a restraining order on the information packages on the autopsies on these two boys. But testimony came out that kids said that one of them was supplying the other with pills. So there you have it. But we were, again, the medical community went hog wild with them, and the next thing you know, we got kids getting their brains pickled, going bug nuts. So what have we learned? Nothing, apparently, because they're still doing the going crazy thing with it. Any idea on the Warcrafter or Ladybird? I haven't really been scratching away at those two lately. I've got half a chapter of Ladybird, and I'm still poking around with, trying to figure out where I'm going to, transition from one event to another. Oh, I know about Shin Godzilla. I saw Shin Godzilla, yeah. The first 30 minutes is a jab at bureaucracy and government ineffectiveness. The whole movie is. Right to the bitter end. They're doing nothing but shuffling chairs and bringing bureaucrats together in different rooms. Okay, you recently learned that Florida passed a law allowing school faculty to be armed on campus. Oh, well, good for them. Now, if they'd pass a law letting law-abiding citizens everywhere bear arms. Oh, wait, yeah, we did. It was called the Constitution. where I was going with this, talking about the medical community just going bug nuts with everything. Oh yeah, well, I was talking about birth control. It kind of concerns me that, look, it is become the default recommendation of every family doctor and gynecologist. When a teenage girl is brought in for the first time for their first exam, the first thing the doctor does is write out a prescription for birth control pills. Without being asked, without being recommended, without really even saying anything. Just, here you go, here's her birth control. And when people complain about it, the doctor's like, yeah, right. Doctors do not have an attitude of service anymore. They do not have an attitude of service. You know, they've always been kind of arrogant. Historically speaking, even. But they have no attitude of service. They believe that they have a higher authority to dictate to everyone how they should be taken care of, and that if they were in charge, everything would be better. Of course, they consider parents. Many of them consider parents an inconvenience to work around when trying to medicate or dope up children. That was a case back some time ago where not all that long ago. It's just about, it happened here in an American school that the school brought in a doctor to proceeded to have him give a bunch of 12 and 13-year-old girls gynecological exams. Rounded them up, brought them in, okay, wait your turn. They brought him back into the nurse's office. One after the other. The first one came back out in hysterics. Told the other, I don't think they were even 13 years old. And the first one, for obvious reason, came out in hysterics. And the other girls freaked. One of them tried to escape by climbing out a window. They caught her and dragged her back in. They were dragged back there, held down, and forcibly probed by this doctor. The parents sued. Thank God they had enough ethics to do that. And the school responded by slandering the teachers, libeled the girl, slandered the girls and their parents in front of their classmates. Talking about how these people were so backwards and unprogressive, and didn't really care about the health of their daughters. And when cornered on it, the doctor was irate. The parents, his attitude was, and he said it: parents have no say in the health care of their children. That is their attitude. They consider, ever since we started giving them to a public school for most of the day, they've come up, they've grown to believe that the children are the property of the state. That is a high price to pay for free daycare. Let's not kid ourselves. Most parents who accepted the idea of government-run schools, public schools, back at the turn of the century. You can't tell me that, they're going to keep the kids for 8 hours a day while we stay home. Free babysitting, and somebody else pays for it. It's even better. When education was something that you sacrificed for, you not only saw people who appreciated it, you saw people who worked hard to get what their money's worth out of it. Now when it's mandatory and everybody's dragged off at gunpoint to it, and everybody thinks that somebody else is paying the bill, it's a shit show. And I don't care if your sainted mother or grandmother or uncle or aunt or whoever was a public school teacher and they were just such wonderful teachers, they loved the kids, and I don't care. They were participants in state mandated child abuse. The founding fathers said if the government came in, took our children, marched them away forcibly, and taught them, whatever they wanted, regardless of what the parents said or believed, would we not recognize tyranny naked? And the answer obviously is no. What's even worse is that they're absolute shit at it. Homeschooled kids taught by parents, parents who are high school dropouts, do a better job of teaching their own kids in a homeschool environment than a government mandated, college educated teacher does in a public school, without even trying. Not only are the kids coming out better educated, they're coming out better socially adjusted. What a surprise. The verdict is in. I was there when the move back to homeschooling and private schooling and homeschooling started. I remember all the bullshit claims that the liberals made. That the kids were all going to turn out like Adam Sandler and The Water Boy. But no, guess what? They came out. Homeschooled kids went and took the SATs and the other standardized tests, stomped a mud hole in the public school kids, grade-wise. Then the psychiatrists and psychologists put their 2 cents in, the counselors. They said these kids were better adjusted. These homeschooled kids. Why? Because they spent more time with their parents, the ones who were supposed to be raising them. They spent more time around every age bracket rather than just one. And they were socialized by being around a community rather than being around a prison cell full of kids their own age. What a surprise! The Lord of the Flies civilization mandate doesn't work. Homeschooling is not the experiment. Public schooling is. It's an experiment that has been going on since about 1900, and it has been a colossal failure in all the worst ways, and at the cost of trillions of dollars and the lives and welfare and future of countless millions of children. The state sucks at raising kids. If the Founding Fathers saw how much we let our government get away with, if the Founding Fathers showed up today and saw just how much we let our government get away with doing to us, by the end of the year they would have started a new revolution, and they'd be charging up the steps of the White House with muskets in hand. Of course they claim it's better. Lying about everything is second nature to liberals. If not to say first nature. They get up in the morning, they lie to themselves to start with. I'm a liberal, I'm a wonderful person because I believe all the progressive, enlightened things. There's nothing more horrible than a person who does horrible things and believes themselves wonderful for doing it. As one man put it, there's nothing more terrible than to fall into the hands of a moral busybody. The tyrant will tire of being wicked. From time to time, he'll weary of being cruel and hateful. But the moral busybody, the self-anointed elite, and the self-anointed enlightened, will torment you without cease because they do it with the approval of their own conscience. This is how they can murder babies by the millions and feel themselves to be pro-woman. Let me make it simple for any pro-abortionists out there. Killing babies does not solve teen pregnancy. Killing babies does not solve the school problems. Killing babies does not fix poverty. Killing babies does not fix anything. And you are not pro-woman if you go to the effort of telling a woman that you can solve all her problems by killing her child. The Bible pronounced a curse against people who murdered the innocent for profit.
Too late to admit when you're on. Turn a new leaf, see a new dawn. The time to decide has come and gone. Just give me a chance, we can carry on. I've made my choice.
That's how seriously they took it.
Through my head as I remember the day. Stay in this moment.
Of course, everything's about women these days. That's the way the feminist movement wanted it. They pushed for it for decades. That's what they got. The problem is that the things supposed to be about women, the things they're supposed to do for women are the things that are going to hurt them the most. Pushing abortion, pushing easy divorce, pushing, pushing the myth that their fulfillment is going to be found in the workplace. Who the hell told women that the workplace is where men went to be fulfilled? Were women incapable of paying attention when men came home from work? Oh, Lord, work sucked today. Oh, work sucks so bad, I wish I was dead. No, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, work sucks. My boss sucks. Career sucks. And all the women said, right, I want to go there. Feminists are the most frickin' stupid animals on earth. you could put a men only. You could kill off the social justice warrior population in an entire state. All you'd have to do is put up a sign over a septic tank that said "men only," and the feminists would be lining up to dive in head first. They'd be beating down the door with pry bars to get in.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found.
Why are you so angry about this, Ralph? Why are you so angry? Because people like me are the ones that are expected to, people like me are the ones that oppose these things. People like me are the ones that object, that stand athwart these designs. We are the ones who are laughed at, who are mocked, who are belittled, who are pushed aside and ignored, while they go ahead and do what the hell they please anyway. And then, after it blows up in their faces, they blame us for everything going wrong, at the same time as they're burdening us with the job of cleaning up the mess. You know, these feminists who go, well, if I don't get my abortion, are you going to take care of my baby? Don't you love that thinking? You went out, spread your legs for a strange man, got pregnant, and now somehow it's my responsibility to raise the life that you brought into the world. It's somehow my fault that you're an irresponsible skank.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause
But let's move on to more cheery topics.
where the stars
What do you say?
found, it doesn't
Oi.
matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts, 'cause you keep me where the stars are found. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, 'cause you're here with me now. It doesn't really matter, 'cause I feel so free now. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
Just really, that is the sleaziest, sluttiest, skankiest hoe bag method I've ever heard of somebody trying to shift guilt onto the innocent.
Sometimes when you're here, I can feel no doubts.
It's your fault I became a thief because you didn't give me free money. It's your fault I became a killer because you didn't do anything, to make me feel happy about this person instead of mad at them. It's everybody else's fault but mine. You want the solution I would give? You wouldn't like it. I'd super glue your knees together. Kick your retarded boyfriend right in his nuts while I was at it. No. Well, the man's to blame, as much to blame as the woman. Oh yeah, really? It's not the men running around poking holes in condoms. You've heard that song and dance before too, haven't you? That's actually happening. Women entrapping men. It's a new sport, practically. Oh yes, baby, I'm on the pill. Oh, here, use this condom. You never see the pinhole through the middle. There was one guy. He was a Silicon Valley, six-figure and rising star, as it were, corporate whatever. He was well-to-do. Met this girl, took her back to his place, and she was like, "Oh, let's not use a condom. They just so ruin the mood." And he was like, "No, we're using a condom." He pulled out a condom and used it, and he afterward he dozed off. He woke up. She had gone off to the bathroom, and he noticed that the trash can was rifled with him. He went into the bathroom. He found her. She was in there in the bathroom, turning the condom inside out and sticking it up inside herself to try and get herself pregnant. He made her wash off and wash out and then threw her out. Gee, I can't imagine why men aren't just lining up for hoe bags like that. Women lying about who got them pregnant. Dang, Maury Povich is on there with this stuff. How many shows has Maury Povich done where it comes out the baby's not his? What does that tell you? That's it's disgusting that the guy's sleeping with her. It's appalling that the guy. But she's out there boffing more than one man. She's going to get pregnant. She's going to pick the one. She's going to boff a couple of dozen men, and then pick out the one who has the deepest pockets to marry and the nicest car. The one she figures she can get a divorce from easily, and get all the money in the trial. And nobody thinks a thing of it. Just think of how common it has to be for it to be a regular feature on a TV talk show, no matter how trashy. that's the kind of young women that our society is producing today. But typically, just as as always, the first impulse of people on the right and the left, on the right and on the left, is to blame the young men. There's one guy. One guy wrote a post. He had a girlfriend. They had been good story forever. She just dumped him one day because he wasn't flash enough. Just shattered his heart into a million pieces. Well, anyway, years go by. A couple of years go by. He's decided that he's going to avoid it anyway. He gets a vasectomy. Gets it confirmed. His gun's firing blanks. Along comes his old girlfriend again. And she starts out, oh baby, take me back. And he said, no way. She dumped him for some other guy with a nicer car and a nice douchebag haircut. He didn't want anything to do with her. And he throws her out, and she comes back weeks later, months later, with a paternity suit, accusing him of being the father. He had slept with her one more night, and then told her he wasn't going to have anything to do with her because she was about as faithful as a stray cat, and then threw her out, and she swore revenge. She goes out, she gets pregnant with another guy, and comes back and accuses him of being the father. And he basically laughs his ass off as he proceeds to show her the medical records for his vasectomy several years back. And all her family had been backing her up. Oh, you did this girl wrong, you dirty so-and-so. And then he dropped that little bomb, and Daddy's little princess suddenly got her crown knocked off. That's just how bad it is out there. There are people out there that are trying to pass laws that you can't use a blood test or a paternity test in a paternity suit. It's how crazy it is. You can't use a paternity. They're trying to make it illegal to use a paternity test in a paternity suit. There have been cases where they've thrown the paternity test out as proof, and the judge is screwed over the young man anyway. That's how messed up it is.
needed it most, when I needed myself. Where was I? Where was
People blaming white people for racist crime when there are more cases of black on white crime than white on black. More cases of black on black crime. Generally because you tend to rob or stab whoever's closest. I say, Muffin, let's ride down to the colored community and engage in a mugging.
Oh, not today, dear. It's so far.
Like the homeboys are going to drive all the way up to Whitey Town. Black on black and white on white crime is still probably the pretty highest numbers. Last I heard they were, because quite obviously it's let's keep it all in the family, that we all keep keep it in the neighborhood. People who tend to commit violent crimes tend to commit them in their own neighborhoods, places where they're known. People with a racist chip on their shoulder that go touring. I remember when quote unquote hate crime legislation first came out. Some of you are too young to even remember when it started. For some of you, hate crime has been part of the legal system always. And I find that heartbreaking. Hate crime, as opposed to what other kind? You rob a person, you've robbed them. You beat a person, you've beaten them. There's it makes no difference. A crime is a crime is a crime. The only reason motivation is important is to help establish guilt versus innocence. Beyond that, a crime should be punished as a crime. Period, regardless of creed, color, race, or religion. But they bring out this hate crime, and it's of course it's all one way, as always. And it's bullshit. You stab a man 40 times, and somehow it's worse of a crime if you stabbed a man that many times because he was the wrong skin color. Because it's worse, but you did it because he was black. So if I was an egalitarian, he would be leaking less. your enlightened, sensitive programs don't make the victims bleed any less. Leftists. You skank bags.
I want you to jump like you trying to get stuck in the air. If you feeling so lit and don't care, shorty beating her face in the mirror, up in the air. I want you to jump, 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 up in the air. I want you to jump, jump.
Really? Can you hear the music in the background? Please tell me if you can hear the music in the background. Because I can't tell.
Like you trying to get stuck in the air.
I'm constantly fiddle-faddling with the volume control and everything, because you get one complaint after another, one way or the other, and it's a real drag. Please tell me, can you hear the music? Is it too loud? Is it too soft? I put the music in the background so you don't have lots of dead air when I stop talking for a minute to focus on my drawing.
I want you to jump. Jump. I want you to jump, 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 jump. Up in the air, I want you to jump, 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 jump. Like you trying to get stuck in it. Gotta get it, in the air.
My hands are shaking a little bit because they hurt. My wrists hurt. Probably because I don't know. Could be anything. Might have overdone something with them. Typer, Hope I'm not getting carpal tunnel or something stupid like that. Figures. My legs go out and then my hands, just what I need. Stop shaking. This isn't good. Last thing somebody who makes a living with their hands is for their hands to start hurting. Give me a second. I'm going to take some Tylenol. Old fart. Taking pills. I always hated Tylenol. I always hated aspirin and Tylenol as a kid. They seemed useless. They took so long to work that the headache might as well have gone away on its own. And I'm like, how did that idiot aspirin get credit for a miracle cure, Hands are actually just hurting. Okay, let's give it a few. Let's give it a few minutes. Okay. Give it a few minutes. Talk about something else. Talk about anything else. Yay! Pardon. It's a screwed up world. It's a screwed up world, and we all live in it. Yay! Alright. Let's find something more positive to talk about. Let's talk about something more positive. I don't know what. I'm like, I've been sitting here griping and angsting about everything, and I don't know what else to talk about. Okay, let's see. It's time to switch the graphic! Yay. I kind of like this one better. It's more zippy. Ba 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 da 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 da. As we go flying through the sector of giant sparkly cubes. Alright. I loved how the closing credits of Star Trek always showed that retreating starfield. Like, oh, what? We're supposed to be looking out of the back window? Oh, dang. That's the reason you don't fall asleep in a chair. You sleep on it wrong. You sleep on, you get problems because of your spine being out of alignment. You sleep on joints and get nerve pinched, and oh man, ow. I just took 2 Tylenol, and it's going to be like an hour before I even start to feel the effects. Or not feel the effects, as the case may be. That's bad. A little story where Willy Wonka was in Harry Potter's Union. Yeah, and I remember I remember reading that. And Willy Wonka, they absolutely hate him. The wizard, the Wizengamot hates him because he's always skirting the law. by selling his candies to the Muggle world. And every time they bring him up for trial, he finds all sorts of loopholes. I'm amazed they didn't have a scene where he bribed Dumbledore with a lifetime supply of lemon drops. But yeah, at the end they concluded, holy crap, Willy Wonka's a Slytherin. Ow. Ow. My joints. Ow. Dang, yeah, it is what it is. I fell asleep in my chair last night. And I probably slept on my shoulder and my elbow and everything wrong. And it's hurting my... Dang, it's hurting my whole arm. That's no good. That's no good at all! Confound it! But, okay, once again, just for the record, just, this...
Sponsored by...
Well, not exactly sponsored by, but music provided by Monster Fluff Music. This is the music in the background is their NCS 24/7 live stream gaming music radio, no copyright sounds, dubstep, trap, EDM, and electro house. I don't know what all those abbreviations mean, so we'll just read them and hope people understand. But this stream is not an official NCS stream. The music in the stream is provided by NCS. If you want to support the stream and keep the stream running, they have a donate thing. It's called tipeeestream.com/monsterfluff/tip. They got several live streams like this. No lyrics, lo-fi music to study by. Maybe I should. It's probably not. It's not copyright free, so I don't know.
I do not know what I can do. I'm not sure what I can do about it. If I can do it at all.
Big yawn. AOC is claiming that hateful messages are putting her life at risk. This is the woman that called our president Nazis and race. President Trump and others, they disagree with Nazis and racists. Yeah. AOC, accidentally obliviated cortex. I like that. My favorite essential oil is bacon grease. I've come to the conclusion I don't like pizza anymore. I don't. I just don't enjoy it the way I used to. Every now and then I get a pizza and I'm like, Yeah, it just doesn't do anything for me. And got another man posing as a woman winning a women's track championship. It never stops. I like this. I like this. This is good. Let me back it up. Let me read it here. Kids menu, 12 and under. 12 and under kids menu. Breakfast, I don't know. 3 junior pancakes, chantilly cream, and maple syrup. I don't care. 1 egg, 2 strips of smoked bacon, home fried potatoes. Lunch and dinner. I'm not hungry. Chicken fingers. I don't want that. Grilled cheese. I want to go to McDonald's. Junior cheeseburger. I want to go home. Fish and chips. I'll say this much: Dan Meyer is pretty much right about the fact that most of what we eat is crap. Most of what I eat is crap. He's right about the fact that there's so many people who are diabetic or quote pre-diabetic, and that most of it could be that it's killing people, and that most of it could be fixed with diet. The larger question is, how many people can? Now, let's be fair. Daniel Meyer is. This is Daniel Meyer is a man. We can safely assume he's fairly well off. He's got several vehicles. He is a motorcycle hobbyist. He rides cross country, and he and his wife are upgrading, repairing, and not upgrading, renovating. That's the word. Renovating. This episode of Sesame Street brought by the number Q. Okay, they're renovating a Victorian mansion. So they're not what you call poor. They're very well off. So, you know, in spite of things piling up on them, you know, they're fairly well ahead of the mark. So, you know, changing their diet, you know, going with old diet, you know, the extreme diet and exercise, and you know, and ultra low calorie, low carb, and eliminating all these, the whole thing. It's not a financial challenge for them. At least I hope it's not. I'd hate to think that fresh eggs cost, you know, $50 a pound where they live, you know, or something like that, you know. But it's noteworthy that you know, people used to remark that America is the only nation in the world, is supposed to be the only nation in the world where the poor are fat. And of course, that assumption is because people assume that being fat is a sign of being well-fed and affluent, when being fat is often a sign of being, you know, it's a sign of poor nutrition. As there's one guy worked there's a book on nutrition. There was a guy writing about the whole you know, low carb, high carb thing, and he started out by talking about the various areas he had worked where, you know, as you know, providing social, you know, civil aid to disadvantaged communities. There was a Native American tribe. I forget whether it was where it was, whether I think it was in Canada. But anyway, not important where it was. The point is that these people were dirt poor, and they had fat people. Now, these people were not getting enough food. What it was, they were, you know, terrible nutrition. You know, their caloric intake was well below what was necessary for standard health. But they still, you know, they still had a couple of fat people in the tribe, and it wasn't because the fat people were eating all the food either. That particular fat person, you know, the calories they were getting were all high carb. And then there was the other one went down to a southern community, very heavy Mexican American population, and he noted that these people they were borderline, you know, third world, and they were coming in. Their kids were sticks, you know, just little skeletons. Just ribs everywhere, you know. And but the mothers, who were not eating any more than the kids were, you know, were overweight. They were obese, and it turned out, you know, their diet consisted mostly of beans and rice, just carbs and carbs. And you know, after they hit a certain age. And their metabolism couldn't make up for it anymore. They just swelled up. The mothers were taking in fewer calories than the kids were, and still you had the little you know, overweight moms in these desperately poor communities.
I'm so in love with you.
So, you know, people eat high carb food because it's plentiful, it's filling, it's cheap. Me myself, I am on. Well, I could. No, here's the thing that comes up. Now I could either, lunch today was some leftover pizza and a salad for me. So, mixed results. Eating fresh food daily is a little expensive. Fresh veggies, fresh meats. We'd all love to eat, fresh veggies and fruits and meats. Right off, meat right from the butcher and veggies right straight from, veggies and fruit straight from the grocer and all that. And sometimes it's not feasible. And speaking as somebody who's on food stamps, because of my low income, I have a choice every month. I can either buy food that is cheap, filling, and long-lasting, that will sit on the shelf for long periods of time, or I could try and stockpile fresh foods, veggie, salad fixings and what all, and fresh cut meat. Fresh cut meat that costs 10 times as much, and salad fixings that are going to rot within a week. Being fussy about your diet is a luxury of Western civilization. Whether you're talking being low carb or vegan or any of the other popular, lose weight and get healthy diets, it's a luxury item. Most civilizations, they have to go with what they can, what they can get and what they can store for long periods of time. Fresh food is so much better for you than canned. But canned food will stay and stay edible on the shelf for months or even years. I think, generally speaking, we become a little bit spoilt. By the fact that we live in a civilization where food is delivered literally overnight to every grocery store in the world by trucks and trains and cargo ships. Like an endless conveyor belt. We're spoiled. We haven't had a real famine in America since the Great Depression. And we are culturally unprepared for one now. This is a choice I have to make every month when I get my groceries. Do I buy what I can stockpile? What's cheap, what'll fill me up, and what I can stockpile, or do I buy what's religiously healthy for me that won't last a week? And that if I don't eat it quickly, will spoil. Every now and then I get a bunch of bananas, and it is a race Just one bunch of bananas, just like 4 or 5 bananas, and it is a race between me and the bananas. I bought a bunch of bananas this month. Think about that. Bought a bunch of bananas this month, and I was eating one a day. Get up in the morning, banana. Last day, I had to scarf down 3 of them before they turned to mush. So much for a steady potassium supply, What are all these people with special, with special diets and special dietary requirements going to do when the next food shortage hits? And it will hit here. It will happen here. What are they going to do when they're going to have to live on starchy, fatty, salty food out of buckets and cans? The reason, all the stuff that we have in sugar, pie filling, jams, jellies, preserves. Big hint right there. Preserve, the word. Fruit preserves. All of it was, all that stuff was originally invented as desperate means to try and make, store food longer. That's why so many different foods are so packed full of sugar. Because sugar can, to a degree, act like a preservative. Not as good as salt, but who wants to eat a salted cherry? And like I keep trying to say, every month I make this choice. Do I try and add to, I've got a few canned goods and a few bags of flour and some prepackaged pasta and things like that. Not healthy food, not healthy in the least. But I'm stockpiling in case of an emergency, which I think, when I look at the trends in the economy and in politics and in the world, is more and more likely with every passing day. The average person has maybe a week's worth of food on hand. I figure I've got maybe a month's worth. And I'd be making like flour and water pancakes by the end of it. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, am I going to, after trying to split the difference between these two, virtually religious outlooks. Oh, you have to eat healthy from the pulpit on high versus you have to preserve food for the future. Prepare for catastrophe. At the end of the day, I say, shut up and slice me some frickin' pie. I could have made my, I know that my life could be so much easier if I had, eaten like a pro athlete my entire life, instead of buying whatever was convenient or cheap or affordable. But the thing of it is, it was convenient, cheap, and affordable. health nut eating is a luxury. It's a luxury item. At least from the perspective of people down at the bottom of the ladder. This is not to bash on people who are working on their health, trying to make themselves healthy. Not by a long shot. No.
Wizard, what do you see as you twist the tiles beneath our feet? What do you see?
Look, why do I think there's going to be a food shortage? Why do I think... I don't think there's going to be a shortage so much as I think things are going to get incredibly expensive, which is the same end result, however you look at it. Look, as I pointed out before, let's start with the basics. The American economy is based in a fiat currency. And the economies of the world are based on American currency. Fiat currencies pop. There you go, gaboom. It's always happened. There has never been a fiat currency that has lasted. The American dollar and the American dollar and the British pound have beaten the odds by lasting as long as they have as fiat currency. We have been on fractional reserve for about 100 years, and fiat currency for about 50. And the British have been on fiat, the British, same situation, nearly twice that. It comes down to this, is that both America and Great Britain are export economies. We rely on trade ships. Especially Great Britain. It was the reason that their trade vessels dominated the world. The British. What was the name of that company? The British something or other. It was one of the villains in the Pirates movies. But they were responsible for Great Britain's thriving empire, and we have been exporting our debt. What do I mean by that is that we are spending. We're basically like somebody who lives in a town and nobody will cash our checks anymore because they bounce. So we hop in our car and drive a couple 100 miles away to the next town over and spend our rubber checks there. And we're doing that as long as we can. We've been trading with other countries. Third world countries have been a dumping ground for American dollars. The rest of the world, but particularly third world countries. There are many of the major trade countries out there that are doing their damnedest to get rid of the American dollar in their economies and bring in things like silver and gold as fast as they can. And pretty soon they're going to start, paying more American dollars than what they're going to be overpricing gold in China. They'll start spending American dollars at throwing it away to get more gold into their country, because India's doing this, China's doing this. I forget what other countries are doing it, but the ones that are on the ball are getting rid of their paper money as fast as they can, especially the American paper money, and taking gold and silver. China alone is buying they're buying the equivalent of the annual production of all the gold mines in the world. As fast as it comes out, they buy it up. The American dollar is in bad odor, and it's only going to get worse. I'm predicting this the way, the same way I'm looking back at the German Republic, the Weimar Republic. This is what happened to them. And the American dollar, the only reason the American dollar has lost 90% of its face value in the past 100 years. Most of that in the last 50 years when we went full fiat. The British pound has lost 98% of its face value in the past 100, 200 years. That's what the British pound was. A British pound was a bill. It stood for 1 pound of sterling silver. It doesn't even stand for an ounce of that now. So this is a very fair, good sign that the explosion is imminent. The collapse is soon, and nobody can tell when. It's like watching somebody inflate a balloon until it bursts. You know that bugger's gonna pop. And all you can do there is stand there and cringe with your fingers in your ears waiting for it. Second, there are dozens of other things in the climate, in the politics, let's put this way: if you could ever find an old recording, watch Doomsday Preppers. It used to be a big show on Netflix where they would interview various people who have made doomsday preparations, and one of the first things they would ask them is why they think doomsday is coming, and each one would give a different different reason. Many of them were interrelated. Another good thing is that another sign, our infrastructure is hanging by a thread. On top of our economy hanging by a thread, our infrastructure is. The electric grid is in desperate need of an update. It's falling apart. The highway system, the last I heard, nearly every bridge and overpass in the country is rated as in desperate and urgent need of repair. Our entire country depends on a handful of refineries, all in one that are all in one location, around about Texas and in the Gulf, and that's for all the fuel that our country buys, sells, and uses. And and the list goes on and on and on. Everything this country runs on is literally held together with duct tape, baling wire, and spit. And even if none of this was true, okay? Even if none of this was true, it's a simple biblical principle. Look to the ant, thou sluggard. The ant lays up stores for emergencies. And there are always emergencies. There's always a hurricane. There's always a flood. There's always a tornado. Or a flock of tornadoes. I don't know what they call a bunch of tornadoes all at once. A really big news week on AccuWeather. I don't know. There's always something that happens that causes a crisis. And disasters and crises do not have the courtesy of staying within a certain boundary or barricade. There are so many different ways that the table could be flipped at any given time right now, that not being prepared for the future is incredibly foolish. Our forefathers routinely filled their basements, their root cellars, with at least a year's worth of food that they canned and dried and preserved and stored. A year's worth. That was considered normal. That was normal. Today, you're called a paranoid, survival nut if you have more than a week's worth of groceries in your fridge. How many of you could prepare food right now if the power went out? I find myself in an embarrassing situation in that regard. I've got a fridge full of food that would rot if the power went out for a week. I have a microwave. Oh yeah, a microwave. That's going to be real good. And when the balloon goes up, you know what I'm saying? Most of us can't start a campfire. Most of us don't have anything like a fuel-burning stove or even a barbecue grill or any means or way of preparing food without the benevolent hand of the state providing you electricity or gas or any of the it's kind of a bad situation. I used to have a propane heater run off those silly little milk jug-sized tanks. Yeah. Actually, it ran off smaller tanks than that. But the guy who claimed, "Oh, here, I'll take it to my place and I'll put a valve on it so you can attach it to bigger tanks," and then he never came back with it. He stole it. I don't even know where his address is. I can't track him down. It's been years. But we are unprepared to live through life without the infrastructure that we're tangled up in. We don't have food stocked for when the grocery stores are unable to sell. We do not have a way to keep ourselves warm in the winter. We do not have a way to keep ourselves cool in the summer. We can't even, and if the water system goes out, we don't even have ways to bathe ourselves. Look, we've seen what happens when a society, goes on the skids. We're watching it happen all over the world. I mean, bringing up, to flog a tired horse, Venezuela. There are people out there gathering water out of the gutters in buckets. Polluted water. And I'm talking water with sewage in it. To bathe and to cook and to drink and to clean themselves with. Picking through garbage bags for food. An unprepared people. That's what that's what they're asking for. That's what we're all asking for to happen to us. And so few of us the few of us who can do anything about it don't. I would give anything to be able to put up a little wood burn, a fuel burning stove of some sort in this trailer. A little chimney out the back window. Set it up so that if I had to, I could use it to keep myself warm, and to cook food. Me, I'm one of these people that, I'm in a position, physically, biologically speaking, health-wise, I'm one of these people who, if the system goes down, I'm probably going to die pretty quick. If I'd have been, for instance, if I'd have been stuck in any third world country 5 or 10 years ago, I'd be dead. I've had things seriously go wrong with my body, and it doesn't look like things are improving anytime soon. I've got several medical conditions that, if they go south, the only thing that saves me is that I can call an ambulance on my cell phone and receive modern advanced medical treatment and pay for it with my Medicare, with my Medicaid rather. If I tried to be a survivalist, I wouldn't. Let's put it that way. But those of you who can do something, there are simple things that we don't think of until the power goes out. Like having lighting in your house that doesn't depend on batteries. I'm talking things like lamps and candles. Having a firearm into your house to defend yourself with when the police aren't there anymore. Having some way to heat your home, cook your food. Having access to water, a well. Don't tell the state about it. They had a woman recently who refused to hook up to the city water because she had a well already. And they charged, they threw her in jail. Oh wait, I don't think they threw her in jail. But they sicked the law on her to force her to get on the city grid. The survivalists are not fools. They're people who have seen which way the wind blows. We take no precautions for the future. And we laugh at those that do. And above all else, of course, make sure that your heart is right with God. We all have a final destination. If we aren't prepared for that day, then any other preparation we make is foolishness. We're all born sinners in this world. Lost because of the choice Adam made. Jesus, the Son of God, part of the Trinity itself, he came down sacrificed himself to pay the price of humanity's sin, and offered redemption and salvation as a free gift to anybody who would accept it. I accepted as a child, believing that he died to pay for my sins and asking him to be my Savior. That's the one doomsday prep thing that all of us should do. And it's the one, the only one that it's the one that matters the most. He expected his followers to be prepared for times of trouble, too. He told his followers, if you don't have a sword, take your cloak, sell your cloak. And that was some serious business back then, selling your cloak. Sell your cloak and buy one. Because you're going to be living in a, the implication was you're going to be living in a dangerous world where you may have to fight for your life. When it came to talking about people who prepare for the, the Bible said, "Look to the ant, thou sluggard." The constant refrain in the Bible was, "Be prepared." He expects us to prepare for he expected us to prepare for his coming, and he expects us to be prepared for all the things that will happen in the meanwhile. The Mormons, their religion, I have no use for. It's a cult. It's a heresy. But I will note this: one of the things the Mormons teach. It's a doctrine with them that they are expected. Every Mormon family is expected to keep at least a year's supply of everything stockpiled someplace for each member of their family. If you have a family of 4, you're expected to keep a year's supply of everything each family member is going to need. Everything from just basic food staples to toothpaste and soap and everything else under the sun. And most of them shoot for 2 or 3 years at least. If we experience a national crisis in our lifetimes, the people in Utah are going to be prepared. Well, Mr. Cartoon Critic, one of the things I suggest you buy is a stove. It's kind of embarrassing to have a... Hope you got a can opener. I only stockpiled 5 years worth of canned goods. And then the balloon goes up. Where's the can opener? What do you mean there's no can opener? Put that plug-in thing away. That's not a can opener. You're out there beating cans of food open with a hammer. Actually, you can open canned food without a tool. There are sites on YouTube that show how to do it. You sort of have to scrape them on a brick until the seal cracks. The preparations I've made are a pitiful joke for Doomsday, but at least I can say that at least I made a token effort. Well, one of the things I try to do is that every time that every month I try and buy a little bit more. If the government's going to give me food stamps, I'm going to at least spend them on preparations for when the government collapses. It'll always be something that you never expect, and none of us never expect, but all we can do is try. There's one thing that they pointed out. If you're going to prep for the future, there's a couple of things they suggested. Things that you should buy now while they're cheap. Things like coffee, chocolate. Even if you don't drink coffee, believe me, you're going to be able to trade that stuff. Things like coffee, chocolate, herbs and spices. There's a reason the Spice Road was created back in the days of yore, because spices were incredibly hard to get and incredibly valuable. And if it weren't, if the economy goes down, that huge infrastructure of trains and planes and boats that ship things all over the world, that's gone bye-bye too. And if that goes bye-bye, or even if it gets damaged, the price of certain things which only grow in certain areas, like spices, the price is going to go through the roof. Stockpile things like salt. Stockpile things like basic medicine. I wish they'd let me buy things like, Band-Aids and I don't know, stuff for personal hygiene and stuff like that with food stamps. Get the EBT card, but no, that's not covered by that. I've seen too many people on food stamps that could seriously use a toothbrush and some soap. Plenty of how-to books, that comes to mind. First aid kits. Most of the ones I've seen basically consist of a Band-Aid box and some Bactine. You really got to stock up your medicine cabinet yourself if you want it to be supplied. This is the thing of it is, when you are a low income person, stockpiling for the future isn't something you really can do, because you've got $100 in your pocket and $200 in bills. Say you got just enough to pay your bills, and $10 left over. What are you gonna spend it on? Probably any one of the 10,000 things you urgently needed yesterday. Save up for the future. That's a great advice if you have enough to spare. It's one of the fundamental failings of all these advice columns on how to save money and become rich and stuff. If your first, if your advice tip if your advice consists of stop buying venti lattes at Starbucks and brew your coffee at home. If your advice assumes that I am regularly spending $5 for a cup of coffee, you really haven't grasped the situation. Oh, dang. That Tylenol really isn't helping much. Man, I should know. I got little aches and pains all up and down through my arms and my hands, between my shoulder blades. That is unpleasant, to say the least. It's what happens when you fall asleep sitting up in an office chair, especially a badly made one. I bought this chair just this same year, and already the fake leather is breaking down on the arms, flaking off. Ugh. Those are the requirements for furniture for somebody like me who's a physically malformed shut-in. Two operative words: modular and adjustable. Everything on it needs to be adjustable. Extremely adjustable. If it's not adjustable, it's not going to adjust to me. I'm certainly not going to adjust to it. Ow. Man, I'm really starting to hurt. I'm gonna have to. Oh, ow, 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 ow. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it a night right now. I'm not feeling good. Not gonna get any drawing done either with my arms hurting like this. Honks me off. Well, that's nice. An herb garden, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night, guys. I'm kind of in pain. Thank you all for hanging out with me. As always, if you'd like to support my channel and my live stream and my comics and stories and everything else, go to www.rhjunior.com. The links are provided. I got my email in the upper left, web page at the lower left, and my Patreon page in the lower right. You can see them right there. Go to www.rhjunior.com and I've got links right there to my Patreon and to my PayPal. If you'd like to throw in some support. I also have books for sale through kablam.com and a few other items that you can order. Commissions and the like. But either way, I'd like to say thank you all for... Ow! Darn. Every joint in my arm feels like I hit my funny bone. But you all take care of yourselves and you have yourselves a good night, alright? God bless. Good night.